Good afternoon, everybody. This is David Cerns with Haley Marketing Group, and welcome to today's Lunch with Haley webinar. Today is a very special event. We have a guest speaker. Today we have Scott Love, who is a professional recruiter, an industry trainer, and just an all-around really smart guy about issues related to selling and recruiting. And Scott's going to present to us some practical, tactical tips to help us both drive sales and, just importantly, to manage sales in the staffing and recruiting industry. And I'm really excited to have Scott here. It's almost just a lucky coincidence. He and I were both presenting at a conference last fall, and I was following Scott, so I got to listen to him speak, and I just said, wow, this guy has some great ideas. I really hope that he'll come and do a lunch with Haley for us. And I went up to him afterwards, introduced myself, and well, luckily for all of us, he's a great guy and was willing to participate. So Scott, I'm going to turn the reins over to you and look forward to hearing about all your ideas for managing sales.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. And just to clarify, and I appreciate the compliment when he says, Scott's a really smart guy. What he means is I'm really old. And I've been in this long, 20 years, swinging the bat. I think I've outlasted and outlived a lot of people that have been in the business as long as I have. If you look at the slide from the classic sales movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, it's one of the best sales movies out there. It's rated R, so you get some language in there, but I think this is how we see ourselves. Always be closing. I think that recruiting and staffing are what I consider to be a personal development opportunity disguised as a job. What that means is that the more you grow in your character, in your spirit, in your soul, it attracts people to you, and they take your advice. I also think that especially if you have a double sell, it's the purest form of sales. What I mean by that is you've got to go out and sell your staffing and recruiting firms' services to prospective clients. Now you've got the search assignment or the job board, and now you've got to go out and sell the opportunity to candidates. And so when I first got into business 20 years ago, I realized this is different. I was selling. Someone said, well, how did you get into the business? I said, well, I was selling long distance. They're like, wait a minute, people paid for long distance? Yes, people paid for long distance. I was selling long distance back when it was 25 cents a minute. The office next to mine was a search firm. And I hung out with those guys, spent time with them, and realized this is great. I can make $40,000 a year doing this. I'm never going to make that much money doing anything. So I joined, and I realized this is great. My first day on the job, I knew I'd do it forever. It's hard, as you know. There's a lot of disappointments. When recruiting works for you, when it's good, it's really, really good. When it's bad, it's really, really bad. If you manage salespeople or recruiters, that's even tougher because you and I both know it's like herding cats. How can you get them to perform at a peak performance level if you're in sales or if you're in recruiting? The concepts I'm going to share with you apply. I think kind of going to the fundamentals of what we're in the business of, there's three different areas that we have to master: influence, resilience, and achievement. We're going to talk more on the influence side today, more on sales. Let me kind of talk from a higher perspective and then kind of drill down into some tactical levels. And by the way, if you've got questions, go ahead and type them in the question box, and when I come time to Q&A, I'll go ahead and answer some of those. When I was 24 years old, I was on a ship. I was the operations officer of a U.S. Navy ship, third in command when I was 22, and on my shore duty tour, the Navy happened to have a leadership initiative called Total Quality Leadership based on W. Edwards Deming's principles of total quality management. Deming was an American management consultant who in the 1950s taught the Japanese how to manage, and the rest is history. He's one of the pioneers of the quality movement. And this is when I started studying organizational development, meaning how do you build organizations? How do you build teams? I used to teach leadership. And it was interesting. My dad, when he retired from the Marine Corps, he did training and development on leadership development, organizational development. You know, when you're a kid, you never pay attention to what your parents do. And I remember going home when I took on this new role, and I said, Dad, what do you do for work again? And he told me, I'm like, that's what I'm doing now. So we had this new thing that we could talk about. And one of the things I learned is that the VVM is a cornerstone that every company, every organization needs, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a bank, whether you're a search firm or a staffing agency. What are the values of your organization? What are those principles and premises that drive you? What's the vision? Where is it that you want to be when your organization moves forward? And then finally, the mission. What are you all about? Who is it that you serve? And how does it improve their condition? So you need to take time and figure this out. We could spend a whole day just talking about these three things. There's lots of books out there that discuss this. Go to Amazon, type in values, vision, and mission, and see what you find if you're in a leadership role. But the key is to connect it to the salesperson's performance. Everybody comes to work for a different reason. Everybody has something that motivates them that's different. What you need to do as the boss, you need to figure out what aligns their motivation with your values, vision, and mission. Here's three ideas. First one is, with each of the people that you manage, spend some time writing down what makes them unique. What is unique about them? You can even ask for them to help you with this. Have them draft up a document. What are the top 3 points of uniqueness about you personally compared to other people that do what you do in our profession? Start with that. Really understand what's different about them. Secondly, identify what motivates them. I'll share with you some ideas here in just a second, but everybody's motivated by something else. And then third, in your journal, ask yourself, how can I align this with the goals of my team? Now, Abraham Maslow was a psychologist in the 1960s who coined the phrase, the hierarchy of needs. And that's what this is that you see right here. He actually started out as an institutional psychologist. I think it was in the 30s when he really started studying human behavior and what motivates people. And in the 1960s, he came up with this, the hierarchy of needs. This is the most widely adopted model of human behavior. Why is this important? Because it has everything to do with getting people to produce, getting them to take action. At the bottom of this pyramid, and think back to the recesses of your brain when you studied this in college in your psychology classes, right? Physiological needs, food, clothing, water, shelter. Those have to be required for us to go to the next level, a need to feel safe. We all have to work in a safe workplace. We have a need for security. Once that need is met, then we can focus on love or belonging, affiliation, being a part of a team. Once that need is met, then we focus on esteem, meaning ego, recognition. And then once that need is met, then we can focus on self-actualization, meaning what is the meaning that we get when we pursue a cause? How do we identify fulfillment at a personal level by doing the work? Now, what's interesting is that you don't have to fill these buckets up from the bottom going up. Sometimes the top rung supersedes security and safety and even the physiological needs. What do I mean by that? Think of it when our grandfathers and great-grandfathers invaded the beaches of Normandy against their own safety and survival against physiological needs. They pursued a higher calling because they saw it as their duty. They knew that there was a just war. They had to do that. Their self-actualization took priority over some of the other basic needs. Everybody is motivated by something. What you need to do is find out what that is. I'm a member of the Washington Rotary Club. We had a nonprofit executive come and talk about it. It's the same thing, looking for fundraising. Find out what motivates people to give. Is it recognition? Is it to put your mission in alignment with their own personal goals? What is that? You need to speak with that. When you have salespeople in your company, some people are motivated by money. That's the only thing that's going to motivate them. Other people are motivated by the connection that they have with their clients or with their candidates. Then you might have a recruiter in your company that he's good. He's making a good income. But what motivates him is to have a reputation as being the go-to guy among the IT industry in Boston. Or you might have a sales rep where she's making a really good income. But what motivates her is that personal connection and the recognition she gets from her clients knowing that she has solved some of their biggest problems. That's what I mean by that. If you want to extract more performance out of people, you need to find out what motivates each of them specifically, uniquely, individually. And then as you talk with them, those are the buttons that you need to press. Let's go to the next slide. So that's what I mean. We're kind of starting at the big picture and we're working our way into some more tactical issues. So if you're looking for magic rebuttal number 34, Hold on a second. We'll get to some more tactical things. I also think it's important for you to release the hold on your team. What I mean by that is this, is that especially with younger workers, their loyalty is not to the company, it's to the boss, it's to the individual. Before I got into recruiting, back when I was selling long distance, the sales manager of the company I joined, and this is a national, more of a regional company, he said, I know that at some point you're going to leave our company and move on to something else. And my job is to give you the tools and to help you reach success while you're here so that when you leave, you look back on this as a positive, career-enhancing experience, and you take what you've learned and you create a good living with it. How do you think my loyalty was about him? Sky high. I thought, wow, let's just talk about the elephant in the room, why don't we, on the very first day I started? Because yes, at some day I think I will leave. I'm not going to retire there. Let's just admit that. How long are you going to have your sales reps? 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Hopefully longer if they're producing. And the best way you can get them to stay with you is to release your hold on them. To tell them this, say, listen, I don't know how long it will be for us to work together, but let's agree on one thing. Let's work as long as it's good for both of us. And if it isn't for either one, then let's both give each other permission to tell the other person, and we can part as friends with no hard feelings. If at any time I'm not getting what I need or you're not getting what you need, then it's not time for us to continue on. Let's just talk about that right now. And let me make this promise to you. My goal is to help you be wildly successful in this role as a sales rep or as a recruiter, so that if and when you decide to do something else, as long as it's not with a competitor, as long as you decide to do something else, you look back on this as a positive experience. That is how you build that loyalty to your team, is to let them go. When you hold on to them, they're going to feel smothered. When you let them go, they're going to want to stay there forever. Here's tip number 3. I think it's important to look at each sales rep as going through their own roadmap of success in sales and in recruiting. The best way you can do this is to ask them for their ideas on how they can find solutions. So the next time a sales rep or a recruiter comes into your office with a problem or a challenge, ask them this: what do you think? What do you think we should do? When you have people in a group during your sales meetings and somebody has a challenge, what do you think we should do? What's interesting is when you ask new people what they think they should do, then you get some pretty creative ideas. Here's tip number 4. Create accountability teams in pairs. Have a buddy system. Let me give you some ideas that are more tactical. Have a buddy system. Each week, you're going to have 2 reps or 2 recruiters work together. They can be in unrelated areas. They can be in different industries, but the 2 of them, they're going to be a support team for each other. Think of it like this. I don't play a lot of golf. I used to play a lot of golf. But the most fun I've ever had playing golf was when I play in a golf tournament where they use best ball rules. What that means is you've got 4 people. Each person hits a ball off the tee box, and the best ball, the farthest and in the best position, that's the one ball that they're going to hit the next shot from. So everybody goes to that best ball. Everybody drops their ball there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoever has the best shot, that's what we're all going to go to. So every shot you're hitting from is perfect. You have some pretty good scores, some very low scores when you do this. It's some of the most enjoyable golf I've ever played because you're playing with a team where you're supporting each other and you're drawing out the best from each other. So this is how you would do this. Let's just say you have 10 people in your office that sell or recruit. Put them together in 5 teams of 2. Tip number 1, have them meet every Monday and every Friday together. They should meet and they should work on solving each problem. What are your targets for this week? What are the challenges that you're facing? Number 2, you want to have them engage with each other and give awards for, let's just say you have the best production, who had the best ball golf style tournament score for the week in terms of the combined results of both of these. Now you're going to have each other competing with everybody else. And it's a friendly competition, but the two of them are working together to see who has the combined scores. And number 3, in terms of metrics, it can be sales, it can be number of placements, number of submittals, number of interviews, number of resumes received. It doesn't have to be the end result in terms of how you're going to measure success on this contest. But the job is for the buddies to work together, to encourage each other, to hold each other accountable, to brainstorm together on solving each other's problems. Have them meet once on Monday, once on Friday. You can have this as a month-long contest. And you'd be amazed at how far people are going to go in their performance when they're helping each other out. And it's a team sort of concept. Instead of me against everybody else, it's me and my buddy against the other teams. The benefit of having a contest like this is that no matter who wins, everybody's going to benefit. Because once people start exercising certain muscles, they start stretching and reaching, they've done 10% more than they did the week before in terms of submittals. Now, that's the new minimum. The next week, they're going to do 10% more than that. That's the new minimum now. And I'd recommend that you do this. Come up with a structured format. Put it on a piece of paper. Give it to everybody and say, we're going to have, over the next 6 weeks, we're going to have a buddy system, a best ball tournament for recruiting or staffing. Each person is paired off. And you can go over, you know who the top producers are and who the rookies are. You know, do it that way. You know, the senior with the most junior, the biggest billing with somebody that needs a little bit extra help. So now you've got some real mentorship going on. Make sure that everybody's evenly paired off compared to everybody else. You might have a little prize at the end, like maybe a golf outing for everybody, and the 2 people that win don't have to pay their green fee or something like that. Whenever there's a stake involved, people are more committed. It doesn't have to be a big stake. Just whenever there's a stake involved, now you got everybody's attention. Here's another idea. Teach them to use the telephone discipline tool. Now, this is a free tool, and I'll tell you about how I developed this. I'll show you what it looks like right here. Back, it must have been like, you know, when David said I'm smart, that's because I'm old, you know, I've been around a long time. I went to a Brian Tracy seminar. It must have been back in 1997 or 98. If you've never heard of Brian Tracy, he's got some of the best books and programs on sales. It's briantracy.com. And at his seminar, I heard him say this: well-managed salespeople manage themselves on an hour-by-hour basis. And I thought about that. And I thought, okay, I'm setting my monthly and my weekly targets and my daily targets. But what does he mean by managing themselves on an hour-by-hour basis? And so all I did, I came up with an Excel spreadsheet. It wasn't very fancy. And I broke my day into hour-by-hour increments. And what I started doing, I started keeping track of the number of connects that I would make per hour. And then I took it to another level. I started setting hourly target goals. And I would highlight the number of boxes of people that I wanted to reach. And whenever I talked to somebody, I put an X in the box. So this tool, I'll tell you where you can find it. The website is greatrecruitertraining.com. If you can't remember that, go to Google, type recruiter training. I'm usually number 1. Usually number 1, 2, or 3. We don't pay for advertising, but that's what Google says we are. We don't actively work SEO. Maybe we should. But go to Google, type recruiter training. It's greatrecruitertraining.com. And look on the freebies page. You could spend hours on my site without spending a dime. Look on the freebies page. And it's called the Telephone Discipline Tool. Now, if you don't remember how to use it, there are 2 videos that tell you how to use it on the site. There are 4 concepts of achievement. The first one is intention. What direction are you going to? Are you going in? What are your targets? What are your goals? The second one is focus. You can only do one thing at a time. Focus on only one thing at a time. The third is intensity. How much energy are you putting into the goal? that you're working on. And then finally, execution. How well are you doing what you're supposed to do on an hour-by-hour basis? The first one, intention. By highlighting the number of calls per hour that you hope to reach, you're setting your intention. Now, if this sounds silly, I will agree with you. It's kind of silly. It's kind of stupid, but pay attention here and test it for a week. I promise you, this tool will change your life. One thing, I did a seminar last year for the Capital Area Staffing Association here in Washington, where I live, and one of the attendees there was with a large staffing firm called Creative Financial Staffing. I've spoken at their events a couple of times, and I was talking about this tool during my presentation. She says, "Oh yes, I remember this." I think the first time I spoke with them was like 2004. She said, "Our #1 recruiter in our system uses that tool every day, and she's been using it ever since she saw you talk about it." And she said that's why she's the #1 rep in the system. So this is how we use it. You print this out. You have your daily plan. You line this up against it. And you highlight how many people do you wish to reach each hour. So let's just say from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, you want to have 4 conversations per hour. You highlight 4 boxes. You got to highlight it. You got to set your intention. It's not just a tracking. You've got to set your intention with this. It's a concept called throughput. When I taught Deming management methods when I was in the Navy on active duty, I studied what's called statistical process control. Means fancy charts and graphs. We're going to measure all the inputs that lead to the outputs, and if we can control the inputs, we're going to get better outputs. Pretty easy in concept. And in some ways, it's pretty easy in execution if you know what you're looking to improve. So let's just say you want a manufacturing plant, and you want to increase your production of widgets by 25% that year. At the end of the year, we want to have a 25% increase in widget production. What are we going to do? We're going to talk to our process engineers and look at our widget production per hour, our throughput. So how many widgets are we making per hour right now? We're making 4 widgets per hour. Well, if we want to increase our annual production by 25%, we're going to increase our hourly production by 25%. What's a 25% increase of 4? Well, it's 1. It's 5. 1/4. All we're doing is squeezing out 1 more widget per hour, and what have we done with our output? We've increased it by 25%. So let me take you back to the telephone discipline tool. You highlight your boxes. That's your intention. Focus. The only thing that counts in life is what's going on right now. This minute is the only thing that counts. This morning, it's gone. It does not exist anymore. It's in the past. The future, tonight, it's not even here yet. It doesn't count. Tomorrow, it's just a promise. The only thing that counts in life is what's going on right now. So this brings you to that point of focus. So it's 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. You're highlighting that you've got 5 boxes. From 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, what's the only thing that counts? You having those 5 conversations. By highlighting it and looking at that, this has a powerful way to keep all those other distractions and all those other thoughts from surfacing. And the only thing that counts is you connecting with the people you want to reach. What about Facebook and LinkedIn? Shut it off. You can shut it off. You can shut off your email for an hour. Did you know that? You're allowed, unless you're on the contract side and you're doing same-day deals, same-day placement. But you are allowed to shut off your emails, because ask yourself, how many conversations on email do I really need to take care of right now? By limiting the stimulation, you limit the distractions. Focus on one thing at a time, picking up the phone, calling someone, leaving a message, picking up the phone, calling someone, talking to them, convincing them to consider your client's opportunity. If they hang up on you, hey, that's okay. That is a connection. Put an X in the box. Congratulations, champ. That's a connect. Some people say, well, should I spend more time focusing on dials, keeping track of dials, or should I focus on keeping track of connects? Well, what do you want more of? Do you want more dials or do you want more connects? There's your answer. Always focus on what you really want. When I started training way back in 2002, at the end of the year, 9/11 changed everything. My niche was commercial construction. I knew January of 2002, going in that year, I would have to do some things a little bit differently. Just myself, I billed well over 400 grand in a niche that was dying, just because I figured out how to do things a little bit differently than the way I'd been taught. I just through figuring things out, using my statistical process experience, I was able to figure some things out. I'm the guy that people bring into conferences to say, if he can do it, you can do it. I'm the one that gives everybody help. I'm just as screwed up and messed up as everybody else. I don't have the talent of all these other trainers that you see out here. I really don't. But you know what I want? I want it badly. And I know you want it badly. And the way I teach the business is a step-by-step, paint-by-the-numbers, systematic process that can be replicated. That's why all the big franchises love me, because they're all about systems and structure and process and replication and all that stuff. You can have that same level of success as somebody that's doing very, very well in the business by having the same work habits that they have. You might not have the natural, innate knowledge to figure it out, but they have. But you know what? You can get the same results by using this, the telephone discipline tool. Focus. The concept called throughput. Whenever I started teaching this to other search firms and staffing agencies, even some of the ones that measured everything, that have 30 different metrics that they measured through their automated system every day, and I'd ask them, tell me about your throughput. They'd say, through what? I said, your throughput connects per hour. Well, we don't measure that. I'm like, that's the one thing you should measure. We don't know how. Our system doesn't measure it. Well, use paper and a pen and a highlighter, and it's low tech, but you know what? This always works. And how much does it cost? It's nothing. It's not very sexy. I mean, it's not a new platform. It's not an app, and I'm sure you could spend the time to develop it. But while you're doing that, I'm going to outbill you because I'm using this, because I know this works. So you highlight the number of boxes per hour. You put an X in the box when you talk to somebody, when either it's good or bad. Throughput. So let's just say your goal is to talk to 5 people. Let's say you had 3 no clicks. No, click. Are you open to hearing about things? No, I'm not. Click. Okay, that's 1. Are you open to hearing about, click. I didn't even get past hello, right? Are you open to hearing about things? No, I'm not, but I'm happy where I'm at, but I'm happy to give you referrals. Hey, that's what I call a no nice. I can't talk them out of it into going forward, but I'm going to get some referrals. That's a no nice. And then I'm going to have 2. I'm open to talking. I can't talk now. I'm open to talking. Let's talk for a little bit. That's 2. That's 2 yeses. I had 5 conversations, and 2 of those might have been good. That's kind of how it works. I like to circle. When I put an X in the box, I like to circle the good conversations that I had. Now, let's just say that it's 9 o'clock, and you're making your calls, and your goal is to have 5 conversations from 9 to 10. But you're on 4 conversations, and it's 9:55. And you've got 5 minutes left to reach one more person. Are you more motivated now than you were before? Absolutely. What's the difference? Well, you're just paying attention. You're just paying attention to execution. You're focused. You're much more intense. That's the difference between people who do very, very well and people who will never reach their full potential. It's their intensity of the work effort. How badly do they want it, and how willing are they willing to work hard to get it? And I'm not talking about longer hours. I'm talking about doing just a little bit more, being a little bit tighter in your discipline and your execution, being a little bit more focused, and using tools like this that channel you forward. I love bowling, and I'm okay at it, but you know what I'm really good at? I'm really good at gutter balls. Every gutter ball I've ever bowled has been perfect. It's just absolutely beautiful, consistent. It's great. This is your gutter ball to success. Ta-da! So other things about this, and then I'll talk about some other ideas. And by the way, if you've got questions, go ahead and write them in the question box. When it comes time to Q&A here in about 10 minutes or so, I'm going to open it up to Q&A. Other things about this. Targets for the day. Write down your targets. So you print the sheet out before you go to bed. Think about tomorrow. Look at your daily plan. Start with, what are the 2 or 3 things I want to accomplish? I want to have 20 conversations. I want to get 2 new candidate resumes, and I want to set up 1 face-to-face meeting. Now you know. If I don't accomplish anything but those 3 things, it's a good day. Keep track. Highlight your hour-by-hour to connect on the left-hand side. Put an X in the box when you reach someone. Things that you measure on the bottom. Yeses. A true yes. Are you open to hearing about other things? Yes, I am. That's a true yes. Or if you're selling staffing services, yes, we're open. A conversion is no, we're already working with another staffing agency, but thank you. You could use this for that in terms of setting up appointments. How many appointments did I set up? How many conversations did I have? You could do it that way also. No's on the bottom in the middle. A no nice is someone that was nice to you. They told you no, but they were nice to you. They gave you some referrals possibly or some industry intelligence. The next one is a no click. I hate stinking recruiters. Right? That's a no click. Don't worry about those. You're going to get those. It's no big deal. Everybody gets no clicks. I get no clicks. And then referrals. How many individual names did you get referred to? Pay attention to conversions, other the yeses, and referrals. If you are not seeing an increasing trend in the number of conversions that you're getting and the number of referrals, then you need to focus on the fundamentals of sales. Those 2 things, in my opinion, are the 2 metrics that will make you a fortune. Conversions, turning a no into a yes, and getting referrals. If there's 2 things that you should focus on getting good at this year, it's those 2 things. Let me go to the next slide. Have a monthly or bi-weekly book club. When I think someone said they asked me, hopefully, I'm on a hard line, so hopefully they haven't lost me. I'm dialing in on a hard line from my executive suite, so hopefully the connection's working. Let's go to number 6. And I know that Dave said that we're recording this, so if you're not able to hear everything, you'll get the recording of that. Have a monthly or bi-weekly book club. Get a sales book. Go get Stephen Schiffman's, one of his books from Amazon. Get a bunch of books. Get Art Sobczak's book called Smart Calling. Get one for everybody. The Secrets of the Universe are found in bookstores for $20 each. You can get The Secrets of the Universe in sales. How about that? Have the rookies lead the book club. Have them facilitate the discussion. It's going to develop these leadership skills. And here's a tip. Have them come up with 10 questions for each chapter. Come up with 10 questions for each chapter. Number 7, here's another tip. Attend conferences. Get tactical action plans for integrating ideas. Whenever you attend a conference, on the flight back, come up with 10 things you're going to do and put a date next to each of it. And then when you get back to the office, share. Go around, spend about 2 hours, at least 90 minutes after the conference, having people share and discuss. And then make sure that the next week do the same thing. The next week, reinforce the learning. What you see here are some of the things I'll be speaking at this year. If you're in California, I'm speaking at the California Staffing Professionals Conference. I think that's in May. Alabama Staffing Association in April. NPA, late March, early April. I also today just got booked for Top Echelon's Fall Conference in October. I'll be at the National Association of Legal Search Consultants in Florida here in March. Evolve is in the Czech Republic. I got booked for that. If you're a member of Management Recruiters, I just got booked today for 4 of their regionals, New Jersey, Arizona, and Indiana, and some other place. I apologize, I can't remember. And then maybe even for one of their regional events out in Spain. Just sign that into that today, and then also Staffing World, hopefully. If you're a member of American Staffing Association, I am doing a 5-part webinar series through ASA on staffing sales. I'm calling it March is Money Month. So if you're on the staffing side, I know they've got 1,800 staffing agencies that are members of them. Hopefully you guys will be tuning in March. Just go to the ASA website. You'll see it there. So when you come to these things, come and say hi to me. I love it. I love talking about the business. It's great. When you go and you take your people there, be very strategic. Like, I want each person to come away with 10 action steps and 3 substantial takeaways. That's the strategy, and then come back and have a plan for implementing that and integrating the ideas. Otherwise, you've had a really good time and it's been one big party and you got nothing to show for it. Number 8. And we've got a couple of people that have typed in some questions here. I'll get to those here in about 5 or 6 minutes. So go ahead and type your questions in. We've got about 3, 4 questions so far. It can be anything related to marketing or sales or candidate recruiting, client development, anything along those lines. Number 8, force yourself not to give advice to your team, but to ask questions just for 1 week. Like I talked about before, now we're going to be like Socrates, Socratic selling. That's how he taught. He taught people to come up with the answer, to figure out the answers. Why do you think that is? What makes that so? How could it be different? If you need some coaching questions, just go to Google and write down good coaching questions. And you'll see a bunch of those. Print it out. Have it with you. When someone has a question for you, ask them for solutions on those tactical issues, on those specific problems. And do this for 1 week, as much as you can. Tip number 9, managers, take a $10 bill and tape it to the refrigerator in the break room and have a reward attached to it. The first person that does this every day can take this $10 bill down. We're going to use the honor system. You could say something like, the first person that has 5 conversations with 5 new prospects, whether they're good or bad, 5 new conversations, you come and you take the $10 bill off. Now, if everybody in the office started their day aggressively that way, they would all be giving themselves at least a 30% increase in their income that year. But when there's $10 on the line, they will kill themselves to do it because of the immediate gratification. That's just part of our human nature. I can see that. I'm going to get that. I'm going to pay for my lunch, man. I'm getting that. I'm not letting anybody get that $10 from me. Oh, and if you didn't win, guess what? Everybody still wins. Make it fun. Make it a game. One thing I'll tell you with that telephone discipline tool, getting back to that, people tell me that that feels like a game. And I use a lot of game theory in teaching people the business. You're teaching them to think of this as a game, not the arduous nature of call after call. But that $10 bonus. The final tip is what I call team consulting. This is a concept I got from management action programs in Phoenix, Arizona. Some friends of mine, I got to know their leadership team very well. They actually became a strategic alliance partner of mine. This is how you can solve some of your biggest problems. Let's say you have your weekly meeting. You got you and your 10 guys, 10 people in your office. Somebody has, go around the room. Who has a challenge that they need some help with? Oh, I've got an issue with this. Rank it on a scale of 1 to 10. How critical is it? 10. Mine are 10. I've got an offer coming forward. We don't know how to get the candidates to call us back, or whatever the issue is. I need some help from my colleagues on this. One person is going to be the timekeeper. It doesn't have to be the boss. Somebody volunteer. Now, this is how you develop leadership skills within your team. You've got the issue owner, then everybody else is going to be a problem solver. Now, the issue owner, now the timekeeper, you have to make sure that people stay within the boundaries. You've got to be assertive with this. Give the issue owner 2 minutes. Why don't you tell us the issue for 2 minutes? And you got to shut them off when the 2 minutes expires. And let them know you're going to do that so that nobody's feelings are hurt. Now, after they've stated the issue, you explain, okay, problem solvers, you have 3 minutes to go around one by one, asking clarifying questions. So you go in a counterclockwise. Okay, how about you, Gina? Well, how long have you had this client? 3 years. Only one question at a time. Have you done more work with them? Nope, sorry, you got to wait till your next time. So it forces people to really come up with that one good question that's important and to keep them from talking about extraneous things. 3 minutes, cut it off after everybody has asked one question. If you don't have anything to ask, just say pass. Now the problem solvers then have 5 minutes to give input, one piece of information at a time. If they can't think of anything, have them just say pass. It's not a time to dialogue back and forth about that information. All you're doing is just giving it a one-way, and the issue owner needs to write this information down. And then finally, the issue owner can do a 2-minute wrap-up. Okay, I want you, the issue owner, to tell us in 2 minutes what are the top 5 recommendations you received, and what dates are you going to execute on those. And you tell us who's going to hold you accountable. And they choose which buddy of theirs is going to hold them accountable. I'm going to have Greg hold me accountable. Okay, terrific. Greg, when are you and Gina going to talk together about those issues? We're going to do it next week. Okay, put it in their calendar right there. So what you have done, you have given in just a few minutes a structure to solving problems, getting people focused on getting their best advice to their colleague. How do you think that colleague that had the problem feels about working for your company now? This is great. Where else am I going to get this? I'm never going solo. I'm never going to my competitor because I'm never going to get this much support. I promise you, you will have a rookie that will give one piece of advice. I know what you should do. You should text the candidate and tell him that it's okay if he doesn't want to take the offer, that you're not going to think badly of him if he doesn't, that you still like him, and that, whatever. Wow, that's a really good idea. Text him. Didn't think about that. And then how do you think that rookie feels? Wow, I saved this deal for this veteran, and I came up with the idea. I'm a big deal, It's going to integrate them into the team. You're going to build that team unity. You're going to solve your biggest challenges, and guess what? The owner doesn't have to do all the work. The manager doesn't have to do all the work. True leadership is invisible. You want your team to say, we did this ourselves. This is our company. We did this. You want to build that emotional equity by giving people the chance to solve problems. That is how you can build that kind of an environment that really fosters support and gets ideas. Let's go to Q&A. Type your questions in. We've got a couple of them. And by the way, these are some sites that I have. Great Recruiter Training, that's my free website. You can spend hours on that. I also have an online virtual training platform. You can go there, and if you want a tour, just email sales@scottlove.com. My colleague Jill can do that. sales@scottlove.com. That'll give you a tour of Recruiter VT. Only do that if you've got more than like 5 people that you want to have training. And I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want this to be a commercial. But she'll give you a tour if you're interested. Could you please recommend a couple of audio personal development books that have stood out and you have enjoyed listening to? Thank you. I think that's a good question. I think anything by Brian Tracy is really good. I have an iPhone, so I get a lot of my stuff from iTunes directly. Let me see. Hold on a second. Anything by Brian Tracy is good. I'm going to my audiobooks right now. What do I have on here? Executive Power. That was good with David Lieberman. That was really good. What's another one? The Time Trap was good. Advanced Selling Techniques by Brian Tracy. Oh, this is good. Negotiation Genius by Deepak Malhotra and Max Bazerman. Just look for Negotiation Genius. Anything by Grant Cardone is good also. The Closer's Survival Guide is pretty good. All those are great. Tom Hopkins is amazing as well. Let's go to another question here. Hold on a second. Let's see. Hold on. Trying to expand this out so I can see it. Hold on a second, everybody. Yeah, we've got some good questions here. Thanks for the kind words, everybody. I appreciate that. Okay, so just to comment, the way you train is how I learned recruiting 18 years ago. Thanks. You know, I think it's interesting that the more things have evolved to technology, the more we have discovered that engaging people person to person has become a unique competitive advantage. About 3 years ago, there was an IT recruiting firm in New Jersey that hired me to come in and teach their IT recruiters. These are the clicky technical types. And they have an office in India as well. And they had the video of them up on the wall from Skype. There's about 30 of them. It's 3 in the morning. And all they do 100% is IT. And his thinking is, if I can teach my people how to engage candidates over the phone and build trust and engage them and move them forward, I can get a competitive advantage over my competitors. And I agree. I totally agree with that. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get to these questions over here. Hold on a second. Another question. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's great. What are some creative ideas to passively get in front of prospective clients, email, etc.? Which catches their eye? On the client side, referrals are the best way to open up someone's mind to giving you a meeting or to giving you time, because we all feel safe. It's a matter of feeling safe. That's why referrals are effective. If you and I have someone in common, automatically the walls come down. I feel safe. I'm going to give you my time and my attention. That's what I'd recommend. Here's another one. The information is great for recruiters who are placing individuals, and some can be transferred over to staffing services or specifically to the sales person in the staffing service. However, I'm wondering if you have any ideas for staffing recruiters who are dealing with the same customers but only in one category. If you're dealing with the same customers, I think what you mean by that is only like just office clerical, the same customers over and over. I would look at this. I would look at, congratulations, by the way, because what you have is the best place to go, existing business. If you look at different paths of getting business, existing clients, existing business is the easiest way to get more business. I would look for internal referrals. Ask your existing clients, who are some colleagues of yours in different departments that I might be able to help. If you can do that, you might be able to leverage existing relationships to get more business from that. What are some effective creative ideas to passively get? Oh, here we go. Sorry, it scrolled down automatically. Here's another one. Will the recording be made available? I think so. I think David's going to do that. We've got another question here. Hold on a second.
Hey, Scott, if it'd be helpful, I've got the questions all expanded, and I can kind of go through some of them for you.
That's great. I'm having a hard time expanding this. Wait, hold on. There we go. I did it. How about that? Oh, yeah. Here we go. There they all are. Okay. Can you explain the difference between the true column and conversion column again at the bottom of the yes chart in the telephone tool? Also, what do you recommend we do with the telephone charts to make them actionable? Good question. A true yes is someone, let's say if you're recruiting, someone that says, yes, I'm open. That's a true yes. A conversion is someone that says, no, I'm happy where I'm at. But you're able to overcome that and get them to open their mind up. Okay, I'll listen to your opportunity. If you're on the sales side, same thing. Yes, I'm interested, or no, we're already working with another vendor. And focus on your ability to open their mind up and start measuring that. How many people did I get to be a conversion? They told me, no, but I talked them into a yes. The other thing you want to mention measure our number of referrals you get, whether you're on the sales side, selling staffing services, or recruiting services, or just on the candidate recruiting side. Focus on getting referrals. Something else I mentioned, or I forgot to mention on that, measure every day what was your biggest lesson learned and what was your greatest accomplishment. Greatest accomplishment. What was the one thing you did? And I was able to turn a no into a yes from a high-level prospect. You know why? You want to write that down. You want to think about that. You want to daydream about that. you want to replay those successes to give you confidence in the future. So the next time you have a scenario that's similar and you're kind of getting the heebie-jeebies about this, replay that previous success and then pre-play this future scenario that you're currently on. And then biggest lesson learned. Come on, we made a mistake. Let's make money off that still. How do we do that? By learning from it. There's no such thing as failure, just feedback. No such thing as failure, unless you don't learn something from that. What do you do with the telephone discipline tool charts? I'd recommend keeping those. And then keep them in a folder, then look back over those over time and pay attention to the trends, like I mentioned, on conversions, referrals, and then pay attention to the lessons learned. When I did this is about a year ago, because I used this. I was looking at my biggest lessons learned, and I'm starting to see I'm writing down the same thing. That means I'm making the same mistakes over and over again. I was able to shore up a blind spot, a leak in my game. I was able to plug that leak and improve my own performance because I paid attention to the trends of mistakes that I was making over and over again. So this is a tool. It's a tool that's not necessarily for you to turn into your manager. Every single one of you, if you're in sales or recruiting, you are self-employed. You have to manage yourself. Don't depend on your manager to manage you. You take ownership of your success. If you're, well, I'm just an employee of a big international staffing company, you're self-employed. They are your funding agent and your business partner. One person said, well, I can't buy that audio because my manager won't pay for it. Never going to make it in the business. You need to take ownership of your success. That's just my own opinion. Okay, can you go through the $10 bonus tip again? Take a $10 bill, tape it to the side of the refrigerator, and then have a contest. Whoever does this, let's say the first 5 conversations with 5 new people, can take that $10 bill off the refrigerator. It'll cost you $50 a week, but you know what? You will get a significant increase in performance in your team. What we're doing is rewarding the behavior that we want. More conversations earlier in the day. Do you encourage advocacy on social, increasing the audience reach of the company to feed their traffic lead pipeline, which will help marketing and sales work together? I think so. I've never really thought about it that much. Do you have any tips for using marketing automation in conjunction with these tips? David's the guy for that. That's what I'd say to that. And those are good questions, and I don't mean, it's just that that's a little bit beyond my own personal experience. It's kind of like once you build your marketing platform and once you build your list, I'm the guy that can help you do everything after that. But those are good questions. Those are actually very, very, very smart strategic questions, but I'm not the guy that can answer those. Do you use ATS and CRM and marketing automation? Any other useful software for recruiters? There are, and there's some that that are unique, more on the staffing side, more on the direct hire side, more on the perm, more on the search side. Because there are different core competencies. Staffing, whether it's contract IT, and all the way to direct hire to executive search, contingency, modified retainer to fully engaged retained search, we have this spectrum of things that we see within our industry. And there are providers I know that are niched in pretty much every area of those spectrums. How do you find them? Go to trade association websites for the industry and look at the vendors. Look at last year's and see who the vendors are. Those are the ones that are making investments and getting to know people. Those are the ones that usually have the better programs. Let's see. Getting employees to accurately update the status, like interviewed, placed, phone calls, etc., of a contact within an ATS database is not working. They know accounting will be aware of the ultimate revenue. How do we communicate the importance of this data for the company as a whole? Getting an accurate picture of everything, that's a great question. I would monetize, maybe not monetize, have a contest. People that are in sales, people that are in recruiting, they love games. Come up with a game that rewards the behavior. I had a client, Randstad, up in Canada. I spent a week traveling with their executive team, visiting the offices, doing training. This was a couple of years ago. And one of the executives, he started a division where they didn't pay commissions to recruiters. They only paid them for the inputs, number of calls that they made, number of connects that they had, number of resumes that received, and that was it. And he found that he got more production because their compensation was tied to the beginning part of the process, and that was it. There was greater margin as well, and he found that people stayed longer because they knew how much they're going to make. All I got to do is talk to this many people, get this many resumes, and that's how much I'm going to make. Maybe you could have something along those lines where there's an incentive or a contest committed to the inputs of the contest. And the classic problem is that salespeople traditionally aren't very good with paperwork and things like that. So I would see if you could make it easy, even seek their input from that. But those are very good questions. How do you manage great sales performance over the long term when my people start to get complacent or burn out? I would say introduce change. Move people's desks around. Have people pair up with each other on different teams. Come up with something that's different. When you do something different, that's going to disrupt patterns of behavior. It's going to get people kind of a little bit out of their comfort zones, and you're going to challenge them. I also think if there is somebody from another office that can come in and inspire them, who is successful within your system, have that person do a conference call with them to really get them to think out of the box. I also think intellectual challenge is a good way to really stimulate creativity. Maybe a book club. Have a book on innovation or something along those lines. Those are just a couple of quick ideas I have. That's a great question. How do you start a conversation with a potential client, or how do you identify potential clients? Maybe that's what we can do for our next seminar. But the quick and easy way I would do that is talk to people that owe you. Look at the candidates that you've placed. Ask them, who are you getting calls about? Look at the candidates that are currently looking, that you have out on interviews, and say, I wanted to ask your help. I know you've already talked to some companies that you've passed on. Do you mind if I reach out to them because I have a sales contest of me getting new clients, and I wanted to see if I could win the contest? And any leads that you have, I'd really appreciate. I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize anything you have going with any existing companies, but just tell me the ones you've already passed on. Well, I interviewed at these 5 companies. Oh, that's great. Who did you interview with? You got 5 names. Can I mention your name? Sure. You got referrals. Ta-da. Referrals. If you can stay just in the space of referrals, you can make a fortune in staffing, in recruiting, in sales. And I think we've got time for one last question here. How do I add new clients from outside of my current network and expand that? Something I would do, if you're looking at, I want to expand outside of my market, and I think this might be one that I talked about before, but let me kind of elaborate. I had some other questions. 3 things I would do. First, I would read industry publications. I would pay attention to any sort of organizations that are going through change, whether they're growing or decreasing, when they're acquiring or being acquired, when they're growing in business or getting out of the business. And I would call them. I saw that your firm is going through some change. I thought it might make sense for us to have a conversation. Second thing I would do is I would read industry blogs, and I would reach out to all those people that are writing for industry blogs, and I would make connections with them, and I would say, if there's a piece that they wrote on and I disagreed, I would tell them, I disagree with what you mentioned. They want to know why. They might even do a piece on you, quoting you. You want to build a relationship with them because sometimes they are going to seek out a source for a story that they're doing. Third thing I would do, I would find, and this is what's called marketing a candidate, and I'm doing a 90-minute seminar here in 20 seconds. Find someone who is amazing that everybody wants, and with that candidate's permission, make introductions to executives that can benefit from this person. When you make a cold call, and your goal is, I want to tell you about our company, well, they don't have a need for you because they're already working with other staffing companies. But when you have an immediate solution to a pressing problem, they're going to give you their time, they're going to give you their attention, and hopefully they'll give you some sales. And with that, David, we have concluded today's program.
Fantastic. Thank you, Scott. Just a tremendous amount of great information, and thank you to everybody for some exceptional questions. I'm sure we could have gone for probably another entire hour answering them, and Scott, maybe we'll be lucky enough to get you back to do that. Scott, if you wouldn't mind flipping to one final slide in the presentation.
Yep, oh, that's right.
About our next Lunch with Haley event. So we have 2 events scheduled. Coming up in just a couple of weeks, some of you may have received an email from us announcing a special offer that we are holding through the end of March. We're calling it our 2016 Staffing Bundles, and on Friday, February the 26th, we'll be doing an overview of everything that's involved in that special offer. And then our next Lunch with Haley educational event will be on Thursday, March 10th. In just a couple of weeks, one of the two big events in the staffing industry is coming up, the annual Executive Forum this year in Phoenix, Arizona. We've got 3 people from Haley Marketing that will be heading to the executive forum, and we will take as many notes as we can, and then we'll report back on some of the things that we see, hear, and learn for those of you who can't join us in Phoenix. And if you have time and you're anywhere near Phoenix, we hope that we'll see you there. And if you haven't booked your flight, go ahead. It's one of the most awesome events in the industry. Again, from everybody at Haley Marketing Group, a big thank you to Scott for taking time out today. Please do check out his website, check out his online training, some amazing stuff available there. And thank you to all of you for being part of today's Lunch with Haley webinar.